Hello everybody, welcome to this video on TutorialsPoint. Today we will talk about decision making. Well, have you ever faced a situation in your life wherein you had to choose one thing over the other? When you are spoiled for choice in life, decision making becomes difficult. Well, fear not, we are here to guide you on how to take effective decisions. Let's get started. Well, on the agenda today is we will discuss what exactly is decision making, certain personal traps in decision making, factors for effective decisions, how to make better decisions, certain 6 C's of decision making which we will discuss. Creativity and decision making go hand in hand, and that is what we will discuss. So let's get started on this module on decision making. Well, what exactly is this terminology called decision making? If I have to give you a dictionary definition of the word decision making, here it is. It is the process of examining your possibilities, options, comparing those options and choosing a particular course of action. When you are doing any kind of work, you will be bombarded with different choices, and at times you need to choose one over the other according to that time of the day or according to that frame of mind and accordingly to what your manager probably expects out of you. Hence, decision making is this entire process of comparing our different alternatives and coming to a conclusion on what exactly you want to do. Well friends, in our life, certain decisions are very easy. For example, what to eat for breakfast, lunch or dinner, or also something like what to wear for work or what to wear for a college party. Some decisions are not so easy. For example, what career to choose, what subjects to take, what partner to marry, or if you want to have children, when is the right time to have children. Also, something like changing a job. All these are difficult decisions to take in our life. For example, changing a job. These are all difficult decisions to make. Well, in every situation, when you are making a decision, you have to consider certain factors like who, what, where, when, why and how. These are known as the 5 W's and 1 H. Well, in every situation, in terms of taking a decision, you need to categorize in terms of who are the people, what they will do, when you have to take a decision, how you need to take a decision, etc. When you have analyzed and answered all of these questions for yourself, that is when a decision-making process becomes simplified. Well, my dear friends, it is very easy to fall into certain personal traps when you are making decisions, and my suggestion to you is do not fall into these personal traps. Let's see what they are. Trying too hard to play it safe. Well, in our day-to-day life, we don't like taking too many risks. In the same way, if in case of a decision-making process, you try to play too safe and not take any risk, it can lead to a personal trap. Letting fears and biasness tilt your thinking. Well, in our day-to-day life, again, we are biased and judgmental towards one thing over the other, which can become, or rather which can be a trap in decision-making. Getting lost in the smaller aspects which can create trouble. When you are trying to take a decision on a particular thing, you can get yourself so involved into small matters that at times it can really shift your focus from decision making into problem solving. Craving for unanimous approval. Let's face it, no two people are likely to always be happy with the decision that you have made. It's difficult to keep everyone happy, and hence I would rather suggest don't try to make everyone happy and don't try to ever get an approval from everybody else. That situation is very difficult to achieve. Trying to make decisions which are outside your realm of authority. Well, these are certain personal traps which can come in the way of your decision-making process. Making effective decision. Now, there are certain factors which will influence your decision-making process. Let's see what the factors are. Your priority. Now, whenever you are trying to decide on something, you need to prioritize whether it is low priority, medium priority or high priority for you. That helps you decide on that particular decision. Acceptability is very important. You need to accept the things which come with that decision. You don't have a choice over there. Certain risk and certain resources that you need to allocate in terms of that particular decision that you're trying to make. Certain goals and values. Whenever you're trying to take a particular decision, try to keep your goal in mind and also try to think about your own values and integrity. Is your decision in line with what you feel and what you have in integrity and honesty, etc.? Certain demands which the decision might make, and also perception. Now your perception will be different from others' perception. So it's difficult, or rather I would say it's important to understand in terms of that particular decision, what is your perception or way of thinking about that particular decision. So hence we need to understand, in order to make effective decisions, we need to consider all of these factors, which will in turn help us to make good decisions. How to make better decisions? Well, we all would want to get there someday wherein we are able to say to ourselves that, wow, we are satisfied with the kind of decisions we've made. So let's see what and how we can make better decisions. It's important to increase your knowledge. Whenever you're trying to decide on something, it's good to have as much knowledge about that particular thing and everything related to that thing to increase your knowledge. Use your intuition. My dear friends, it's very, very essential and important to understand that you need to trust your inner voice. At times, you need to listen to your inner voice rather than listening to the logic behind every decision. So listen to your heart rather than your mind. Weighing the pros and cons of each decision, so every alternative or decision that you need to make, try and understand the advantages and the disadvantages of that. Stick to your decision. Once you have decided on what you want to choose, whether you want to choose A, B or C, you need to stick to your commitment to that decision. So do not change your way of thinking, stick to your commitments. Make sure that the timing is right. Everything has a particular time and space and everything else related with that. So make sure your decisions are very timely done so that later on you do not regret those decisions. Well, there are certain common mistakes that you can make in terms of your decision making process. Be careful of making these mistakes and let's highlight them once for you. Not taking enough time. It's important to understand that whenever we need to make an important decision in our life, for example, decisions related to our career, our job, etc., it's important not to jump into the situation head on. Take your time and decide on what you want to actually do with relation to that particular thing. It's important that you need to be peaceful and not lack peace. The best of decisions are made when you are at peace with yourself, when you're happy with yourself. So, my dear friends, it's important whenever making a particular decision, just be relaxed about it, just be at peace. Not considering priorities, that can also be a very common mistake. Forgetting how to say no. Most of the time we are always so inclined towards saying yes to our bosses, yes to our colleagues, yes to our family members, that we don't get time for ourselves. Well, we need to assertively say no whenever we can. Hence, that will help us to make better decisions. Procrastinating can also be a very important mistake which you might make in terms of your decision making. Procrastination means leaving it to some other time. So you might say to yourself that I'm going to take this decision tomorrow or day after or after a month or after a year's time. Well, let's not do that. Let's not procrastinate. Things which have to be done needs to be done and get over with. The most important part of our module on decision making is the 6 C's of decision making. Let's see what they are. Construct, compile, collect, compare, consider and commit. Well, with regards to decision making, it's important to follow these 6 C's. So let's understand. Construct, meaning you get all the information on which you need to take a decision. So collect everything possible. Compile all the data with regards to whatever decision you need to make. You get all the information and you compile all the data in a logical sequence, which makes it better for you to understand. Collect relevant resources around that particular decision that you need to make. Compare the different decisions, or rather I would say compare the different alternatives which is presented in front of you, which will help you to take the proper decision. So compare the pros and cons, consider or rather compare the advantages and disadvantages of different alternatives. Consider the most appropriate alternative or choice that you need to make, and I would rather say consider taking the help and advice of your fellow members or peer members. And lastly, once you have decided on a particular course of action, commit to that particular decision or the choice that you have made. Do not go back on your words. Once you've decided on something, just go ahead with that without having any negative thoughts of regret in your mind. Well, I would want to really simplify the entire decision making process for you. Decision making can look like a very complex thought or process. Well friends, it's really not that complicated, it's very simple. Let's see. While taking decisions, it's important to relax yourself, be in the right frame of mind so that you are able to take the right decision. Anybody who is not relaxed, at times you can make blunders in taking the right decision. Think positive. I think that's very important. Whenever you're taking any decision, try to visualize and think of it in a positive manner and think of it that it will happen for the best. Identifying the problem, and for that it's important to analyze the problem and really spend a lot of time with regards to that particular problem on which you have to take a decision. What are your choices? So list down, in fact I would rather say write down the choices that you have. Instead of keeping it in your mind, it's important to write it down. It will help you to take better decisions. Consequences of your decision, let's think long term, let's think of the longer perspective instead of a short term view, and understand that consequences of your decision, what could be a result of what you have decided today, probably 3 years or 5 years from now. And just go ahead and make the decision. Yes, I would say think about the decision, but do not think so much that you only lose time in thinking. Execute the plan of action and hence make the decision soon as possible. Well, in terms of creativity and decision making, they both go hand in hand. At times we lose our creativity or innovation and we literally are not able to think out of the box with regards to decision making. So it's important to be creative in our decision making, and let's see how we can be that. Create a culture of creativity. Wherever you're working, try and get people to be having a culture where creativity is important. Try to let people come up with different opinions and ideas and be open to accepting all this. Encourage brainstorming. You know what, some of the best ideas can come from people whom you least expect it from. So try and get together, have a brainstorming sessions with your colleagues and team members and really understand how or what is the best way to make decisions. Suspend judgment. We at times can become very judgmental about people, and that's not a good sign. So try keep your own biasness aside. Try not to be so judgmental and just follow the course of action. Provide physical support for creativity and encourage anonymous input. If you ever feel that you might get judgmental or you might have biasness towards somebody, try and get everybody to give you an anonymous input, meaning they can share their decision making or choices in a piece of paper without really writing down their name, and that is how you can have an anonymous input. Well friends, that brings us to this particular module on decision making. I hope you were able to understand the nitty-gritties of making effective decisions, and we do hope that you have enjoyed listening to us. Thank you very much for watching us, and do share in your comments. Thank you once again.